Good afternoon. I'm delighted that you could join us for our third day of our Disability Awareness Week. Today's theme is hearing loss. FM Conway are working with Kent Supported Employment to review our recruitment process and offer supported internships, and we're thrilled to build on this by including a taster session in British Sign Language in today's Lunch and Learn. In addition to Mitch Mitchell, who joined us on Monday, we are pleased to welcome Joe Robinson, who will be providing British Sign Language interpretation, and Gary Sims, who uses British Sign Language as a first language and will be sharing his journey through employment. This Lunch and Learn session will offer advice and guidance around communication and adjustments that can be made to create an inclusive workspace. I look forward to learning alongside you all and in many conversations that we'll have on methods and communication.
Hello everyone, my name's Mitch. I'm the training coordinator for Specialist Employment Service, part of the Education People. And it gives me great pleasure to run the second of two workshops I'm running this week. This one's on hearing loss in the workplace, an introduction to British Sign Language. It's part of the celebration of the International Day of People with Disabilities, which is tomorrow, Thursday the 3rd of December. So for those of you that didn't see Monday's workshop, I'm going to talk about a bit about our organisation. We're Kent Supported Employment. We are part of Specialist Employment Service and the Education People. We are solely owned by Kent County Council. In 2018, our organisation won Team of the Year award from the British Association for Supported Employment, and I was proud recipient of Practitioner of the Year. We work with people with disabilities and disadvantages. Over the years that I've been working for the organisation, we've worked with people from a substance misuse background, people from troubled families background, and more recently Syrian refugees. But our main core work is working with people with disabilities. Our organisation takes referrals from social workers and care managers within Kent County Council. And the main types of people that we work with are people with autism, people with learning disabilities, physical disabilities, visual impairments, and hearing impairments. We provide person-tailored individual support to help people to find and maintain employment. Work brings equality to everybody, and the people that we work with, depending on their individual skills and individual needs, will have a different experience. For example, the support I would give somebody with a hearing impairment would be completely different if I gave somebody with a visual impairment or actually a physical disability. We provide advice and support for employers and employees alike. In the time that I've been working for the organisation, there's definitely been a shift culturally to view the employer as a customer, to work with organisations, understand their business needs, and provide the right people for the job. We support employers to achieve disability confident accreditation. Some of you may know one of my colleagues, a gentleman called Mark Perrin, who's our employment engagement coordinator. And he's been working with FM Conway on their journey to achieve the highest accolade within disability confident, which is disability confident leadership status. As well as that, we deliver a wide range of training packages. I myself run disability confidence sessions for employers throughout Kent, autism awareness training. And as well as that, I deliver a number of industry specific training courses for members of staff that work in the supported employment sector. So I run workshops on job coaching, how to actually assess individuals' needs, and also a 3-day workshop called Training Systematic Instruction, which is a non-punishing, non-punitive method for training people with disabilities to learn practical skills. So the International Day of People with Disabilities is actually tomorrow, Thursday the 3rd of December. It's a United Nations sanctioned day. And this year's focus is on awareness that not all disabilities are apparent. 70% of disabilities are considered hidden. They focus on inclusive, accessible and sustainable societies and nothing about us without us. And as I said in Monday's workshop, during COVID-19, many people with disabilities experience isolation as services are closed. A number of people have been shielding during the first lockdown, and it's led to social isolation. So today's workshop is around deaf awareness and an introduction to British Sign Language. There are four basic types of deafness, which is conductive deafness, so sound unable to pass through the middle ear, sometimes referred to as glue ear. In children, this is quite common. It can be temporary, but in some cases, it can be permanent. Auditory processing disorders, caused because the ears and the brain don't fully coordinate. This affects the speech. Sensory neural deafness, which is a fault in the inner ear or auditory processing nerve, and mixed deafness, which is a combination of sensory neural deafness and conductive deafness. Hearing loss can be temporary or permanent. It comes on gradually as you get older. As we get older, we sometimes find it difficult to hear higher frequencies. Some of the causes are overexposure due to loud noise. This is particularly prevalent for people that have historically worked in the construction industry. Natural aging, hereditary, and illness. The other way in which people are sort of developing hearing loss is a result of, everybody has an iPod on now or has music on and listens to it through their earphones, quite often too loudly. Some of the common signs of actually noticing that you are developing hearing loss can be difficulty hearing what others say, especially in noisy places. I've experienced periods where I've gone deaf in one ear, and it's very, very difficult to disseminate where noise is coming from and who's talking. Asking people to repeat themselves and having to concentrate hard on what people were saying. This can be tiring and stressful. Around 1 in 6 people are affected in the UK by some form of hearing loss. I worked with a community interest company, a recycled wood company, many years ago, and they had one of their members of staff have an accident at work and a compressor blew up in his face. And as a result of it, he was left with temporary deafness. Fortunately, it was cured, but in the meantime, we worked with the organisation to identify a safer place for him to work. He couldn't work on the factory shop floor, and his duties were transferred outside to the wood yard, where he was able to sort through skips and pull out white wood to make recycled products. After a couple of months, his temporary deafness, or gunner's ear as it was called, actually subsided, and he was able to go back to his main job. So I'm going to talk to you now about British Sign Language. British Sign Language is the preferred language of around 151,000 people in the UK. It's really, the history of it absolutely fascinates me. History shows that sign language existed within the deaf communities as far back as 1570. In 1760, Braidwood's Academy for the Deaf and Dumb was founded. The word deaf and dumb, or the phrase deaf and dumb, is now considered un-PC and highly offensive to people from the deaf communities. One of my good friends is a social worker that works for the sensory team. And as little as 2 years ago, he showed me a letter that a doctor had written about one of his clients, saying that the individual was deaf and dumb. Signing was actually frowned upon for many years, and in 1880 the Milan Conference banned sign language, forcing people that were going to sign to sit on their hands. In some of the long-stay institutions that sort of sprung up as a result of the Victorians' obsession with eugenics and basically putting people with disabilities all in the same place, signing was passed on by deaf people kind of secretly, and it was punishable. They forced people to lip read. In 1970, tolerance grew in schools and it started developing as its own language. Over time, the language has evolved. Certain words that we used long ago, much like any language, have kind of not have passed, and now words like internet and laser are more common. And finally, in March 2003, the UK government recognised BSL as a language in its own right. So I worked with somebody who was a BSL user, and it was quite a journey for that particular individual, and I'll talk to you about it as the workshop goes on. The first time I met her, I didn't realise some of the differences between BSL and the English language. So although it shares the same words as English language, there are a number of differences. BSL makes use of space and involves the movements of hands, body, face and head. Particularly eye movements are important when signing. The grammar and syntax, so sentence structure of the language, are completely different. And quite often, many linking words are missed out. Sentences are comprised of two parts, the subject and the predict. So the subject is the topic and the predict is the commentary on the subject. The subject usually appears first when people sign. As a result of this, written language often appears vastly different. If you think about the way in which a literal translation would be. Quite often, if you miss out linking words and the sentence structure is different, it can come across that people have a different level of literacy. Unlike BSL, like English, sorry, BSL has regional dialects, and there are only 900 BSL interpreters that are fully qualified in the UK. The person that I worked with was a BSL user. And the first few meetings we actually worked together, we had an interpreter came in. But over time, the more I got to know her, we would pick up, we'd be able to lip read each other. And if we were unsure, writing stuff down. So a bit of an insight into deaf culture. Deaf culture is a set of social beliefs, behaviors and values. It is often referred to as deaf with a capital D or deaf proud. And some people have grown up in the deaf world and refer to non-deaf as hearing people. The particular person that I worked with, when I finished working with her, she said I was one of her favourite hearing people that she'd ever met. Most people in the deaf community often view deafness as a difference in human experience rather than a disability. And unlike other cultures, a deaf person may join the community later in life rather than being born into it. It is a very proud culture, and some people do not like cochlear ear implants, as it's said to cure deafness. The individual I was talking to you about, I worked with her when she was going through a period of just going in for the cochlear ear implant operation, which is basically an auditory corrective procedure, and is kind of, you sometimes see people walking around with pieces of plastic on the side of their heads, and that actually stimulates the auditory nerve. A lot of people make the assumption that once somebody has that, they can hear, and as they say, it can cure deafness. It's not the way. For some people, the cochlear implant operation doesn't work, and once somebody has that operation, quite often they will need a period of intensive speech and language therapy. As people are able to hear, we hear our voice reverberate around the room and resonate in our heads. For people that have this operation, it's a completely new experience. And quite often, people have no idea how loudly they pitch their voice. It takes time to adjust. And some people from the deaf culture feel torn between the deaf and the hearing world. And those people that use BSL as a language often miss out on much of communication. If you think when we're actually sitting talking to somebody and we can hear noise in the background, how much do we take in of other people's conversations? So some advice for communication now. Firstly, remember that everybody with any form of hearing loss will have different communication needs. And there are many factors for people from the deaf community that affect communication, such as noisy environments. If somebody is tired, they may struggle to pay attention, and lip reading requires a great level of concentration. Also, some people with hearing loss may find it difficult to hear certain sounds. As I said earlier, as we get older, our ability to hear high-pitched frequency sounds deteriorates. So things to remember, general advice. These tips should actually stand you in good stead when communicating with somebody. Always, if you've got to speak to somebody, allocate a quiet place to talk. Don't sit with your back to the light or window. I work with a lady who has a hearing impairment, and during the winter months, we have to say, she says, switch the lights on because I can't hear you. Maintaining eye contact is the key to communicating with anybody with a hearing impairment. Use clear language, but don't slow down the conversation or shout. People find that patronizing sometimes and insulting. Don't mumble. And if you are talking, don't cover your mouth, because then people have been unable to lip read. For a lot of people from the deaf community, body language is the key to communication. Quite often, if someone comes in and they're having a bit of a down day, people from the deaf community will view that as that, they're upset or worried. If people don't catch what you're going to say, oh, don't worry about it. That's the worst thing you can say. To get a deaf person's attention, either tap them on the shoulder, the arm, or wave. And if in doubt, same with any person with a disability, just ask. So people from the deaf community often have a vast range of skills that make them excellent members of staff. Generally, they're not distracted by workplace gossip. As a result of this, it allows them a higher level of focus and are excellent at following very clear, precise instructions, and generally pay attention to detail. So for those of you that don't know, Access to Work is a publicly funded employment support scheme run by the Department of Work and Pensions. And it's being used to help disabled people either start or maintain work. If you actually acquire a condition, it can become quite difficult to deal with. A lot of people with acquired disabilities may undergo some sort of therapy or mentoring to actually adjust to that period of time. And as well as that, there's the physical impact. So Access to Work can help disabled people, employers hire disabled people with the skills that they need for the job. It can be used to retain an employee who develops a disability or long-term health condition, and it demonstrates good employment practice. It can provide financial support for the following. So for people from the deaf community, it can provide, aids. The lady that I was talking to you about earlier, the young woman I was talking to you about, she actually ended up working in a residential home for people with autism. And we had Access to Work come along, and the one piece of equipment that they gave her was when she started doing night shifts, she had a vibrating fire alarm. So if for any reason that a cochlear implant failed, that she was able to get out of the building safely. It can be used for loop equipment, so hearing loops, transport costs for people to get to and from work. For some people from the deaf community, it means that they're particularly vulnerable. If you're walking down the street of a night time and there's people walking behind you, if you're deaf, you're unable to hear it. So it can be used to ensure that people to get to work to and from work safely. It can be used for a support worker. Quite often there are a lot around inductions that people need support with. And also it can be used for an interpreter. For the lady that I supported into work, one of the things that interpreter was used for was firstly for the interview, but also when she attended any training course and once every other week at a staff meeting. As I said, even though she had a cochlear implant operation, she still relied a lot on lip reading, and it's sometimes very, very difficult to ascertain who's speaking in a crowded room. So our organisation, we've worked with FM Conway to achieve disability confident leader status. We can work with any businesses to understand the business needs, assist with recruitment and selection. A lot of people with disabilities may not have the ability to fill out an application form. We can help people define roles, so assist with job descriptions and also inclusive application processes. We can provide advice and support and guidance for working interviews. A working interview allows an employer to basically have someone come in and demonstrate the skills they need to do a job, as opposed to sit in a room and talk about it in an abstract manner. We can support new employees with disabilities to integrate in the workplace, and all of our members of staff are trained to job coach people. So we can support the individual with the induction process and provide initial job coaching so they're able to learn the new role. And overall, we can support you to become a more inclusive employer. If you'd like to work with us, please contact our employment engagement coordinator, a gentleman called Mark Perrin, who some of you may know. His contact details are on the screen. The rest of this workshop will comprise with a British Sign Language taster and an interview with a gentleman that we've been supporting. I hope you've enjoyed listening to me. Take care and enjoy the rest of your week.
Good morning. This is Gary. My name's Joe. I want to ask you your experience at work before. What did you do? I worked as a carpenter for 19 years. And then I left that company. The second job I had, carpenter again, that was for 7 years. But the work is fluctuating, there's just not enough. So I've decided it's better for me to look for another job full time. Okay, thank you. When you, before interview for a job, what happens? Like, how interview you? When I was asking questions, I had to take my father, the boss, the communication, a little bit difficult. So father came with me and the boss and my father were talking. So it was just difficult for me. So I didn't really know, but my dad could sign. I had to do a maths test. I had English test. It was written on paper. It was very difficult. My father had to help me with the written English. Okay, thank you. When you worked with hearing people, like how communication, what happened? When I got the job, I met hearing people. They were a bit nervous and wary of me. But gradually over time, we got on really well. They learnt some sign language, or we just wrote things down. And the hearing people did have some deaf awareness, so it was good. Okay. So what advice would you say hearing people when have deaf person work with them? What would you say help them? To help, it really would be really good if they could write things down, you know, gesture, show us the job. Okay, brilliant. Thank you for interview today. Really helpful. Thank you.
Okay, Joe, thanks very much. Now I understand you're going to teach me the basic finger spelling for the alphabet.
Yeah.
And follow after that, we'll do some of the basic signs that will help people to communicate with BSL users.
Okay.
Okay, I'm ready.
Yeah. Right, that's good. Okay, what I'm going to show you, I'm right-handed. Okay, are you right-handed or left-handed?
I am right-handed, yes.
Okay, lovely. So first of all, on your left hand, this is where all the vowels are going to be. So that your thumb is going to be A, E, I, O, U.
Yep.
Okay, so that's your base. That's your base hand. Okay, so we're going to start with A. So it's your index finger, A. Okay, then B. Can you see my hands?
Yep.
C. D. So that's bringing that up. So it's making a D. Then we've got E. Yep. F. Two fingers on top like that. F. G. That's right. H. Flat hand and one across. I. Yep. And then J is you pull your hand down and do the lip going round. So that's J.
J.
Yep. Index finger. Then you put your hand like that. So you're doing a K. Okay. L, which is just one. M, which is 3. N is 2.
N is 2.
O. Then we've got P. P. Then we've got Q. Is you make the circle there and then you use this finger like that. That's Q. Yep.
Yeah.
R, which is your curved finger. I'm just trying to think we can see me. R. Yep, that's it.
Yeah, I can see you fine. Yeah.
S is the two little fingers like that. S. Your little fingers. Yep.
S. Yep.
Yep. T. Can you see that? T. No, actually,
yeah, I can. Yeah, I've got that.
Side. On the side, that's it.
On the side like that.
T.
Yep, got you. U is the last of the vowel ones.
Yep. V. So you've got the V sign on your palm of your hand.
Yep.
W.
Nice, easy sign that.
Yep. X. Can you see? And then Y is your hand like that, and then you pull a line down, so you're drawing the bottom of the Y. No, the other side, on the outside of the hand.
Okay.
Turn your hand round. That's it, and then do the Y down there.
I've got you. Sorry, my bad.
Y. And then Z is a straight hand like that, right in the middle.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So do you want to go through it again? You don't? Okay, you can have a look at the resources later and copy.
I think we're attaching the resources to this workshop, so I think that would be more helpful for people other than watching my clumsy signing.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So now you're going to teach me some of the basic signs.
I am, yes. Well, first we're going to start with good for good morning. So you put your hands
and it's
to the left, to the right. So if you were left-handed, you'd
Good.
do the good and then right to left, just
Yeah.
to confuse you.
Good morning.
And then good, and then good afternoon. So there's two
Good.
fingers together, just tapped on the bottom of your chin
Yep.
slightly. So that's good afternoon.
Yep.
And that's good morning.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
And you do actually say the words when you sign, don't you?
Yes, you do. Not every single sign,
Yeah.
but if it's you know, like if you're saying hello or goodbye, you would. It's
Hello.
the same wave.
Bye.
It's the mouth patterns.
Yep.
You know. Please is the hand to the mouth. Please.
Please.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
Yep.
Say thank you. It comes from the chin downwards. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And most importantly, if you're at work, it's tea. So if you can do that, that's tea. Yep. Then coffee is the C, but you kind of wiggle it. Coffee.
Coffee.
Yep.
Yep.
Sugar. You get your two fingers as if you're sprinkling it over a drink. Sugar.
Sugar.
Yep. And then milk.
Milk.
Milk. Okay. What water is like that, and you run it down your cheek twice.
So it's like the T sign a little bit.
T is literally straight up from the corner of the mouth. Water is you top of your cheek to the bottom twice. Water. Yeah.
Okay. Water.
Okay. And then.
And what if someone needs help?
Well, help. If I was to help you, you've got your palm hand here. I would help you. I would gesture towards you. If I want you to help me, I would gesture it towards me.
Help.
So you would help me.
Excellent.
I would help you.
Help.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any other signs that would be useful, or you think that's about it?
Toilet. So you've got the middle finger and you just rub it there. So toilet, or you do a T, toilet, and then you would mouth it as well. Toilet.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Thank you very much, Joe.
You're welcome.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.